Without further ado, as soon as the technology is all lined up here, Alex Nuttle.
All right, I think we're good to go. I can hear a microphone somewhere. So as Rich said, I'm Alex, and I'm here to talk about police and prison abolition. We're going to talk about the history of police and prisons and their roles in the United States, and then we're going to end with considering the question of, is abolition really possible, or are we stuck with reformism? So first we're going to start off with the role of police in colonial America, and I would just like to say from the get-go that from the beginning the police were used as tools of the people in power. They were never really used as tools for people who, common people like us today, they were always for the powerful. Essentially what happened is in colonial America, the colonists said that that policing system in England is pretty cool, and it was known as the sheriff system. What the sheriff system essentially did is it was one guy who might have had a couple buddies running around with him stopping crime, but the sheriff also was in charge of collecting taxes. So this creates kind of an interesting dual wield of power where not only are you policing, but you're also collecting taxes. And because of that, policing didn't really happen because collecting taxes is what made the sheriff money. I would also like to know in colonial America, and this extends beyond colonial America, but there were slave patrols. I would make the argument that the first professional police force in the United States was slave patrols. They were endorsed by the federal government. They had no checks on their power. They could do whatever they want. And part of the interesting things about the slave patrols is that, one, they upheld the very obvious racial caste system of slavery. Slavery is a racial caste system, especially in the United States. But there's also class elements to this too, because in a country like the United States where money is power, there was a lot of poor Southern white people who took part in the slave patrols because this was a way for them to say, I, as a poor white person with no money, with very little power, this is one of the few ways that I can enact power over any sort of black slave. So we get more into the professionalization of police as the 1800s goes on, and we end up with policing in cities. Essentially what happened is industrialization came about and brought massive unrest. There was a lot of different ethnic groups that didn't really know how to get along with each other, and that often erupted in violence. This was also happening in London, not necessarily with ethnic groups, but the industrialization part. So this man, Robert Peel, in 1829, decided to make the first, what we consider the professional police force, if you ignore slave patrols like some historians do. But essentially, this made a police force that was modeled after the military, down to the fact that they wore uniforms, the fact that they had ranks, the fact that they used military tactics. And essentially, this starts to have this process of the police as a political machines. If